Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast. Your host, Tracy Hayes. One of the hottest real estate groups in Northeast Florida is in the studio today. Over $4 million in sales in October, following an already great September. I'm your girl. Her philosophy of no one likes to wait means she'll answer you promptly. Nearly 100 five-star reviews on Google. I noticed that as well. She was Rookie of the Year at one of the largest brokerages here in Northeast Florida in 2019. She has quickly become one of the top agents in the region with the help of her advisor. Let's welcome the great Sarah Schwartz group to the show. Sarah Schwartz and Tabitha Vasquez.
Hello.
Welcome. Okay. Well, ladies, I'm glad we finally got you on after rescheduling a couple times and getting everything straightened out there and so forth, and I'm looking forward to it. And Sarah, I really want you, if you could, to as we're chatting today, really dig in. As I said pre-show, we really want those agents that are looking to get a new idea, because your success, it's only been a very short period of time. So you're doing something right, and hopefully with the help of Tabitha over here has accelerated you. But that's one of the challenging questions of a lot of agents as well.
Yeah. Is
when do you actually make that first, hire, if you want to say, or partner up with somebody? When is a lot of people as remember the newcomer group? When I asked them what was one of their biggest mistakes or regrets, that was not hiring that first, transaction coordinator to start to take the load of some of the other stuff off of them so they can continue doing that front end work. So I'm going to start off. We'll start off with Sarah. And Sarah, if you just, tell us a little about, where you're from, where'd you grow up, if you went to school, because like we said, that wasn't on your thing. And then what brought you here to Northeast Florida?
So I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland, and I moved here when I was 9. So I grew up in Ponte Vedra, and then the day after I graduated high school, I moved to Orlando for a year with some girlfriends, moved back to Jacksonville, and then I've lived here outside of Savannah, Georgia, San Diego, Hawaii, and then back to San Diego, and then I moved back to Jacksonville about 7 years ago.
So were those moves to San Diego and so forth just for you just checking out the world, or?
In my previous life, I was a Navy wife for over 10 years. So we explored the area, made a lot of really good connections. I enjoyed the different, cultures everywhere we lived. And it was just a really good experience, and came back to my family about 7 years ago.
Now, if I saw in there correctly, you have a marketing degree.
Yes.
Do you go back to that marketing degree? Was there something there? We were kind of joking about college pre-show. Right. Is there anything in that marketing degree that you kind of use today?
Yeah, I think, marketing and sales definitely go hand in hand. So everything that I learned has definitely helped with everything. And then I think also just working in all of the different cities has helped a lot also.
Well, so I was an education major, so I don't mind standing up in front of people, and I love instruction. It's just I often wonder what the marketing people were actually learning, because that is changing constantly.
Always.
Now with social media in the play is where I think a lot of people or a lot of companies are actually directing a lot of their focus is into the social media and all the platforms.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I think it's changing constantly. I mean, when I went to school in the early 2000s, you probably don't use half the things you learned then.
Yeah. Obviously, talking anything about print, that's like, not.
It's a little dated.
All right, let's go over to Miss Tabitha, who has the best degree for being in real estate, criminal justice.
Yes.
Tell us about where did you grow up, and why did you choose criminal justice? What were your thoughts? What were you envisioning?
So I grew up in Northeast Florida. I did not have such an elaborate growing up as Sarah did. I've been here and I stayed here. But a long time ago, once upon a time in my previous life, I wanted to be a lawyer. So I actually spent 18 years of my adult career in the legal field. I did apply to, and I got into law school, and I was pregnant in the time, and I was having complications, so my doctor was like, oh, you cannot go.
Take the stress off of going to school.
Yes, so I stopped, and then I just never went back into it, and I'm glad, because that would have been a lot of student loan debt, and I decided that was not for me.
So, if I recall, looking at your LinkedIn, you went to St. Augustine High.
I did.
Oh, okay. What was it like growing up in St. Augustine for you?
It's so different now.
Yes. That's why I asked the question.
My son is going to wind up going to St. Augustine High as well. His father went to St. Augustine High, and the town is just, there's a small section of the locals, and we remember how it was, and it's just, it is and it is not the same way. So I'd be more interested in how my son's experience is going to wind up being.
What are you noticing, again, from, what is it, roughly 15 years ago? I mean, I don't want to
20.
date you. 20 years, okay. I'm not dating you. But, a lot of people, I live on off Route 210, which people tell me, I didn't move here until 2009. Oh. It wasn't that long ago when 210 was a dirt road.
Yes.
And I think it was Cole Slate, we were talking about Roberts Road and all, being dirt and so forth, and his bus going down Roberts Road on a dirt road.
Oh, to go to Bartram?
Yes, he went to Bartram.
I went to Nice.
Yeah. And what are you seeing right now, being in the real estate world, of who is buying in, especially in the downtown area? Who is coming, into, because we know the people along 210, they're buying in because of the schools. They may work in Jacksonville and so forth. Mm-hmm. That's their desirability for that cookie cutter subdivision, if you want to call it, like I live in. But who is actually moving into the old town or buying in the old town? Because isn't there a lot of investment you're seeing going on down there that was not there 20 years ago?
It's mostly investors.
Yeah.
And that's a hot topic for St. Augustine.
Yes, from the Airbnb standpoint, and who can do what. And then on the beaches, are we seeing a little bit of a turnover, or have for the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, of even a lot of the beach houses, a lot of the older crowd, saying, oh, you know what, this house is, we don't need it anymore. We don't need this big house. We're going to move, and go either downsize to a condo or just change geographics altogether.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, all right. Now, I dug deep into your social media.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Was that a little bit of fitness modeling, or what was that all you were involved in?
I was in bodybuilding. I did natural bodybuilding. I started with a coach.
She had some guns. There was a picture in there, and she was showing off her biceps. And
she still has guns. Watch out.
No, I started with a coach. She's actually still one of my best friends. I just saw her in Vegas last week. And she taught me so much, and it was a really great experience to learn that was something that I could do for myself and hold myself accountable. There's visual results that you get. It was a whole cool thing.
Right. What led you? I mean, you just started just working out in the gym, and it just came something you were getting I think we all get a high off of that, as something made you feel good, and you just started digging into it, and one thing led to another?
One thing led to another, but my personality type is I'll start with something and I will immediately say, how far can I take this?
Okay.
What's the next step?
Right. So her vision was become a lawyer. What was your vision, Sarah, initially getting a marketing degree? What did you see yourself doing?
I don't know. I wanted to do
I think
different
you're like a lot of
things.
college grads, so don't feel you're single yourself.
I had so many different work experiences, and I think that helped me because, I worked at the state attorney's office for a while. I worked at a physical therapy company. I worked at a hospital. I did so many different jobs, and I just loved pieces of every single one. So here we are.
So what ends up leading you through your different career? When do you start getting a taste of real estate and start thinking about becoming an agent?
Well, so my grandfather was a commercial realtor in Baltimore. I think he was pretty successful. Then I moved here. My dad was always in sales. And when I bought my first house in California, I, of course, was like every buyer, and I was like, oh, this seems so fun. I want to be a realtor. So I started to take my course in California and then moved to Jacksonville. So I didn't finish it there. Then I started it here, but I was like, oh, I think I need to get my life together first before I jump into something.
Right.
So, yeah, I worked here for a few years, started to do the course again. Something happened in my life, didn't do it. And then I was referring some of my friends to one of my really good friends that's a realtor. And I was just like, oh, here you go, call them. Here, call them. And she was like, why don't you just get your license? She might regret saying that now. But so I was like, you're right. I will do it. And
do you ever look back, look back on your life and like, okay, here's somehow, some way, you started to get a taste of it, right? You started to get a taste of it. And how, and really, I mean, how is real estate, in just the last 3 years, in the success of that you've had has changed your lifestyle, or how you financially are different today than you were, say, 4 years ago?
I definitely think I'm a lot more successful than I thought that I would be. One thing that was always really important for me, I was a military spouse. I moved across the country, and it was so hard to get a call back to find a place to live. I mean, answer your phone. So
that's where your
I did
your
not
girl slogan
understand.
came out.
Yes. Like, I'm moving from Jacksonville to San Diego. I went house hunting for a week, and I think 2 people answered my call. So, I mean, with that, it's very important to me to put myself in other people's shoes, and I think that has helped with my success. That has helped with everything. And, I mean, obviously, when you work really hard, hopefully the financial outcome is the same. So, yeah.
Okay. How does Tabitha enter the real estate realm?
It was kind of always a little hobby of mine. I was always interested, constantly looking at Realtor.com, Zillow. And then I wanted to get out of the legal field because my soul was dying in that arena. And just needed something different where I could just enjoy life, have a little flexibility with my schedule, with my son.
So what legal work were you actually doing at that time that you felt obviously wasn't inspiring you anymore?
Actually, I was working at a real estate law office, and I was doing title work. I was a closer, and I guess that really inspired me. That's when I signed up for my course.
You're starting to see the agents come in and meeting them and understanding their personalities.
Actually, no. COVID was going on, so I was not meeting the agents.
Okay.
What I was doing was looking into these properties. There was, like I said, I was doing title, so you get the title searches back, and for some reason, that just fascinated me.
So how do you meet up with Sarah? When does this happen?
At the gym.
At the gym.
Part of my previous life, I also worked out 5 times a week.
So you're with a title. So you didn't know each other prior at all, not even through the title company.
No.
No, and we met years even before that.
Okay.
It was a couple years before
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So you guys are just having an ongoing conversation and meeting at the gym? I mean, were you
Well, it's
hanging
like,
out? Or
when you go to the gym
Yeah.
constantly and like around the same time, you see the same people,
Right.
Because we're all in the zone of like, oh, got to go to the gym this time every day. So then,
Mind frame.
yeah. So I think just one time, there was a
You wanna tell
girl.
a story.
There was
Go
a
ahead.
girl.
This is a podcast. We got to make it go viral. Go ahead.
She I don't remember if it was your sports bra or your pants.
My pants.
Okay, it was your pants. So the girl was like, "What's that brand?" And the brand was Buff Bunny. And
Buff Bunny.
Yeah.
I was like in the same area, but Tabitha was so nice, and she was like, "Oh, thank you, it's Buff Bunny." And the girl was like, "What?" And Tabitha probably said it like 10. It was like over and over. Like, "What's the brand?" "Buff Bunny." "What's the brand?" And then Tabitha's like, "Never mind." So
She could not get Buff Bunny in. She'd never seen it before.
right.
That's not.
Yeah, I mean.
And then didn't you say there were a few people that kept thinking that we were sisters?
Yes, so many people think we're related.
My
Tabitha
hair
used
was
to have blonde hair.
Yeah, my hair was blonde.
Yeah.
Blonde hair, light eyes. We're obviously twins.
All right, so but Buff Bunny starts a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like more
You
so making
DM'd
fun
me
of the
after
person.
that, didn't you? I think she DM'd me after that.
So you're saying this goes on for a couple of years, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you guys are just meeting in the gym and becoming friendly. So when does one say, hey, why don't you come join?
So when Tabitha got her license, she posted it on Instagram, and I messaged her, and I was just like, hey, I know you just got your license. If you have any questions or if there's anything I can do for you, like, I'm more than happy to help you.
Right.
Because I did not get that when I started. I asked one of my friends, I was like, oh, your friend is in real estate. Do you think she'd meet me for coffee to maybe give me some tips or what she did to help get started? And her friend shut me down. So.
Do I know this friend? Would this friend be still in the business?
She's still in the business. She's very nice. I think she just more so felt like I should find my own mentor at my own brokerage and kind of go from there. So I wanted Tabitha to just know, like, I know that you're new in the industry and I'm not the most experienced, but I'd be more than happy to help and answer any questions and just, pay it forward.
Right. Well, I mean, one of the common themes that I've gotten with all the top agents, pushing 100 of them been on the show, is collaboration.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I see a lot in the loan officer world, a lot of lines being drawn. Mm-hmm. It's like, I recently did the event at Landmark, and I totally said there would be no lenders sponsoring. I'm going as real estate excellence because when you put a lender out there, they draw lines, and I think in your case, they were actually drawing brokerage lines between. Oh,
I'm sure.
Yeah, and you're just not going to grow that way. And the commonality of hearing you say this. Just naturally, that was your whole attitude towards it was collaborate. Hey, we're women and we're in real estate. Can I pick your brain a little bit? The top people are willing to pour into you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it has anything to do with just being a woman. I think just as a human being, like I want you to succeed. I want everyone to be doing their absolute best. There are so many people moving here and that live here. What are the odds that we're both going to get a call from the same person who's like, I want to see this house today at 4, but I'm going to see it with her at 4:30, and I'll see which one I like more. Like, it doesn't happen. So why not help people?
Right. There's plenty of business, even with the low inventory right now. There might be some little bit of competition in trying to get a listing agreement, but ultimately, people are going to do business with who they like.
Right.
And they might not like a redhead, but they like a blonde, or vice versa.
Dye
Who
your
knows,
hair.
right? Yeah. Whatever their reason is, it's because they like it. And I have my attitude in the loan officer world is the same thing.
Right.
You're going to do business with who you like to do business with, and who adds value to you, whatever value is to you.
Exactly.
And when you start drawing the lines, you're only cutting yourself off at the knees as far as growth is concerned and learning from others. So give us a little more color on when you got started. What the first brokerage were you with? What led you there? Was it just a friend was there, someone you knew, or did you actually go and really dig deep? How did you end up there?
I did not dig deep. So I was still working a full-time job. And honestly, I was working my full-time job until not this past May, but the one before.
2020.
2021.
21.
I was like, wait a second. Yeah. 2021. I worked for 1-800-Flowers for 5 years, and I left. I put in my notice after Mother's Day because obviously I couldn't leave them hanging on one of the biggest floral holidays of the year.
Right.
So I put in my notice afterwards. But so my friend that I was telling you about, she worked at. You want me to say the broker?
That's
okay,
totally
so she worked at Exit, and
it's not Exit anymore.
exactly.
So
Nobody knows what it is because it exited. Just kidding. The name exited.
We're just having fun.
You're great. So, she, I thought, did a lot of interviewing and everything ahead of time, and I trust her 100%. So she loved it there. So I went. I didn't interview. I just went there and was basically like, hi, where do I sign up? So I did that. I was there for about a year.
Which you became Rookie of the Year.
Yes, I was Rookie of the Year and probably one of the hardest years of my personal life. I started real estate in April. My dad passed away in November, and I was planning a wedding, and I got married that March. So, yeah.
Within a year and all that. What do you?
And then COVID.
Obviously, something clicked there initially. Anyway, I mean, you there and being their top agent as a rookie.
Yeah.
Is tough to do. So, tell us some of the things that worked there. Obviously, you fell into it, but that people ought to be looking for when they are looking for that initial brokerage. What were the things that you just wanted to find? The gold nuggets, but how can they be a little more aware to go on that right path that you just so fortunately got on?
So my first listing was a for sale by owner in my neighborhood. So they had a sign. I went and knocked on the door, and they said no. And then, they're obviously not looking for a realtor. They know what they're doing. They don't need me.
Of course.
And I was like,
what do we need realtors for?
Okay. Bye. If you need me, I'm 2 streets that way, the yellow house. So 2 days later, they reached out to me. And then, I did use so Emily is who brought me. So she, she was very great. She still is really great, but she would answer all of my questions. It was a very difficult transaction. But yeah, she always really pushed me to just, try to find business.
Well, one thing I always look for in because I think the challenging in finding the brokers, and you've changed brokers a couple of times. Mm-hmm. So I think I always go back to Sarah Rocco talking about adding value. At some point, if you're not getting any more value out of the broker or the organization in a whole, you then start looking for value somewhere else.
Yes.
In one way, shape, or form or another. What were some of the things that Exit was, obviously providing you, or was it just your natural ability? What do you think made you Rookie of the Year, helped you become Rookie of the Year?
I don't want to say that it wasn't because of the brokerage I was at, but I did not take advantage of any of the courses that they did. I mean, they did offer a lot of education. I think, Exit and Keller were always really good for people to start at for the education, but I didn't go to it. I had so much going on. So I really leaned on my sphere. So, I was very active on Facebook. I was in a lot of military spouse groups. My first closing was a girl from a military spouse group who, I was very casual with her. Of course, she posted something and I was like, oh, I'll help you. Me. But when I messaged her, she was just like, are you going to make me sign something saying that I'm only working with you? And I was like, no, girl, if you don't want to work with me, don't work with me. I'm not going to force you. We're not getting married.
Right.
So she was just like, you know what? Thank you. And she was like, I'm going to work with you because I guess other people messaged her and they were like, I just need you to sign this document saying that you're only working with me. And I was like, ooh.
That isn't some brokers really want that document. They really
but
put that out front.
I think you need to make a relationship first.
100%.
Tell me you love me.
Yeah, you can't force the relationship over that. Tabitha, I'm going to jump over to you just to kind of balance it out, and so you don't.
Sorry, I talk too much.
Don't get lost. So you get your license. Were you already headed towards a brokerage before Sarah reaches out to you?
No, I did do some research. I was looking specifically for a brokerage that would offer a structured learning process because having come from the legal world, all of my jobs in government or at law firms, they had a set training. Like you would go through something before you were kicked out there for the most part. Some places didn't operate like that. So that's what I looked for, and I picked my first brokerage thinking that was what I was going to get out of there. And that is not what happened. Simultaneously, Sarah had messaged me and said, hey, I'm here if you ever need anything. And I needed her.
So what evaluation did you do at that? I mean, did you actually talk to several brokerage, or did you kind of sit down and said, okay, well, that sounds good, after they went through their spiel, their little, if you want to call it an interview, or did you actually talk to several
I talked to several.
What were some of the things, if someone wanted to become a real estate agent today, obviously, or even someone who's doesn't see the value, maybe they did make the mistake of going with a broker that just didn't click with them. What do you think are some of the things that, for you, if you were sitting in front of a new broker today, what are some of the things that you would be asking them?
I think I would immediately ask them how they would handle certain situations that I have personally been in. Because what I have noticed is that the personality of the broker, they're not all made the same. They're all going to handle transactions differently. And I really wanted somebody who was going to have kind of my same outlook on how to treat other human beings, which is why Sarah and I get along so well. Because just be nice. Just real estate, you don't have to be a shark out there. You need to be smart. You need to be proactive, and you need to pay attention to what you're doing. But that you don't need to be a terrible human to be successful.
It's very interesting how you describe that, because if you've been in management in any way and they have actually put you through a training course of how to interview people, that is one of the things they want to do. You don't want a yes or no answer. You want to give the what if this happens, what would you do scenario. And the fact that you already had some experience already of some transactions and how they react is that's a very valuable information there. Would you agree that a lot of agents, they're either being recommended by their friends because their friends work there, or they sit down with the first brokerage, and of course they all will tell you they have great education, they have superior technology. What are some of the
Everyone's so nice.
Everyone's so nice.
Everyone collaborates.
Yeah. And then you step in the door, and it's like any employer, even though you're not an employee.
Right.
They in the interview, I think it was I got Billy Wagner's book here in front of me. Billy says clearly, when you're in an interview process, that face-to-face interview, it's two people, not necessarily being, he says lying to each other. I won't say you were lying, but you kind of exaggerate on some things,
You
right?
should definitely I feel like they definitely put their best self forward.
Yeah. In selling it. And then you mentioned it a few minutes ago. Some brokers are great at taking the greenest of agents,
right,
and working them up. And then there's others that like to take the experienced agents and focus on. There's some I think are caught in the middle. Would you agree?
Oh,
and
definitely.
they're not really. They may be better at one, but they still take the green agent, so the green agent suffers a little bit because they're really good at the medium agent to the higher up, yet they're still taking green agents in and just don't have the structure. And some just aren't sure which side of the fence they're on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it takes a lot of energy. I mean, especially a broker to mentor an agent up who is not a Sarah, right? I think Sarah, if just listening to you here today, you had a lot of just.
I just hit the ground running.
Yeah, you hit the ground running, and you used a key term, sphere.
Yes.
Tell us some things. I had George Potgill from Keller Williams, Christina Welch's team. His biggest regret when he got started was not working his sphere early enough. He was already a couple years into it before he realized he had to go work the sphere, where you went right to the sphere. Tell us some of the things you did to get your sphere activated.
So this might sound kind of weird, but I reached out to lots of my friends on Facebook and was kind of just like, hey, I just have like a really weird question. I know that you own your house. How did you find your realtor? That was like the most important thing for me to know. How are people finding their realtor?
Right.
So, a few people are like, oh, it was a recommendation from a friend. Oh, I found them on realtor.com. Oh, this person's my neighbor. And then, one girl who, you have to think about it. When you're friends with someone on Facebook, who knows how long you've actually known them? Right. I was a lifeguard at Adventure Landing 20 plus years ago. And I have friends that I was a lifeguard with. So
For
I
that
reached
summer.
Yeah. Well, multiple summers, but yeah. So I reached out to one, and she was like, oh, hey, I saw that you got your license. I think we're going to be buying and selling, or selling and buying. And I was just like, really? really? You want to work with me? So, I mean, I think just staying top of mind. I can say I did a really good transaction, which was actually a lead from Boomtown. And I spoke with the listing agent and I asked her, I'm pretty new. What do you recommend? And she was like, top of mind, just stay top of mind. So that's what I've done. I reach out to people and I genuinely enjoy people's company. So I like going and taking a friend out for coffee or out to lunch or dinner and just finding out what's going on in their lives. I like doing stuff in the community. So for me, it was really natural to reach out to people and just ask that random question and then just, if you ever know anyone that needs to buy or sell, I'd love for you to consider me.
Mm-hmm. Well, you sound like when you asked the question, how did you find your realtor? Everyone's like, well, you're not trying to sell them anything.
Right. I just want to know.
You're asking, hey, I'm a new realtor. I'm trying to figure out how did you find your realtor?
Right.
Because I want to, put myself out there as they did, and how you discovered them. And it's just a subtle question, but now you've actually planted in their mind that
I'm a realtor. Use me.
Yeah, that you're now a realtor, and you start a conversation. But I mean, isn't that sort of the how to win friends and influence people concept of you get people talking or you ask for someone for their advice,
right?
And how flattering that is when someone says, "Hey, how did you do it?" Everyone. That's a prideful moment, and then wants to spill the beans, even if it was just about how'd you found your realtor.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So Tabitha, let's bounce over here. So you finally meet with Sarah, but what are some of your initial challenges that you were having as a very got your license, you're signed up with a broker, and you walk into that office the first day. What are some of the challenges that you saw in your first 3, 4, 6 months? I mean, how long was it until you got your first sale?
Immediately. It was busy right away.
Okay. So you were lucky.
I guess. I went out. I did the same thing. My first listing was a for sale by owner as well.
Oh.
So the same thing is I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this happen. I'm also single mom. I got to make money. So I got to do something. And I have a habit of running downtown in St. Augustine every morning. I like it. I saw a sign on the road, and I was like, hey. So I called this gentleman.
Did you run up there in your
Buff
workout
bunny.
gear? Yeah, Buff bunny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took a photo of the sign, and I went home, and I called the gentleman. He lived in Jacksonville, and it had just been a rental property for him since it was built. And he said he had talked to several, had tons of agents calling him, and he chose me because I lived there. And I also called consistently for about 3 weeks before he finally gave up and was like, all right, I'll let you list it.
Well, that's a great point. How important is it that you think it's? I mean, would you agree that 99% of the agents probably only called him once?
Probably.
In the fact that you kept calling him, and here by after about 3 weeks, he was ready, obviously from your persistence, but also he's like, yeah, I need someone to move this property for me. I'm not doing it.
Right. And I think there's another thing, too, as Sarah's kind of touched on a little bit. It's more so a relationship. When you're calling people, they don't like to be sold to or feel like they're being pushed by somebody. So when I was calling him, I just would say, hey, how's it going? If you need me, I'm here. Don't forget about me. So that's what Sarah was saying, top of mind, but you're not necessarily always, I'm a real estate agent. You're just like, how can I help?
Right.
How can I help?
Right. That part there, did that just come naturally to you? I mean, because I know the brokers are training on how to reach out for sale by owners. Was that some tips that you got, or was that just natural for you to approach him in that way?
So 18 years as a paralegal and a clerk, you deal with the public a lot, and you're always dealing with them on a very bad day and in bad situations. So
yeah, nobody wants that conversation.
It was a habit of mine to just be gentle with someone. How can I help you? I know what this is, and I know how things are going to pan out in different scenarios. So what do you need, and how can we get there the best way possible and to mitigate the stuff you don't want to deal with, and how can I take a load off of you? That's what I got used to as being a paralegal, both honestly to the lawyers I worked with and the judges I worked with, and then also to the clients I was working with. How can I help? How can I take a load off?
If you look back, it was spring of 20, right, when you more or less got started in real estate. Looking back here in 2 years, obviously, Sarah's success, you guys are probably experimenting in things, but obviously you've had success. If you look back and you were talking to someone new, or again, one of those agents who might be stale where they're at, what are some of the things that you would tell them to do or not do? What are some of the things that you learned early? That doesn't work, or maybe just doesn't work for you. What did you learn about yourself?
I am still in the process of learning this.
Well, that never ends.
But honestly, you're capable of so much more than you think you are. And Sarah you need a good mentor. Someone who's going to be very positive, because it's not my natural inclination to just wake up and be like, the world is amazing today. That's not me. And I'm not saying that she does that to it's like a toxic positivity or anything.
Right.
Like she just honestly
or annoying.
No, she's just in abundance mindset. So if you are like, and I overthink, so I'm like, oh my God, what about this? What about this? What about this? She's like, and what if it works? So it's really important to have somebody like that, around you, and to just constantly receive the message and remind yourself, you can do this. And you're going to do a lot better than you think you can. And just let it be.
Now, obviously, I'm sure Sarah pulled it out of you, but when you were saying that and knowing what little I do know about you at this moment here, half an hour into our show, the whole, your background in the bodybuilding, is that basically the bodybuilding and pushing yourself to doing things you didn't think you could do? And obviously having a coach, someone that was encouraging you to say, yes, you can do that. It's kind of like Sarah now. And then obviously, one of the unfortunately common themes, but we have a lot. I've had a lot of very successful single moms on the show. And sometimes, like you said, you had to get out there and you had to do it. I think it was Christella. That's who it says. Failure was not an option to her. She did whatever she could. She had family members helping her out, even lent her a car, which she couldn't afford a car. And another sister or cousin gave her a cell phone, and got her business going, and it's been success. But do you feel like some of that background, when she's coaching you, you're just a sponge in receiving that positive and taking that step out there?
I'd like to say I'm always a sponge, but I definitely push back, and she just always is there. Because
she knows to keep pushing.
She's very consistent, and I think I'm probably going to always have that mindset because of the legal field. I'm going to always, what's on this side? Yeah. What's on this side? What's on this side? What's on this side? And so I will go through all these scenarios and thankfully she has the patience to give me answers for all of it, or just tell me when I'm overthinking and I need to stop.
Well, with your clients though, because engineers have the same kind of mindset. At least I know when I'm dealing with them, talking about loans, they want spreadsheets of all different types of loans, even though they really want this one right here. But when you're working with some of your clients, your detail or looking at from the side to make sure there's no obstacles in the way. Right. Have you found working when you're working through some of these with these buyers and sellers that actually that's an asset for you? That's you.
It has been, and it helps because I can explain what they're signing. I can explain the step. These are the things that are going to happen. Mm-hmm. If you're new or you haven't really done it a lot, then it gives them peace of mind and comfort. Also, I have found that my type A personality goes along very well with investors. So when they want numbers, I can provide them numbers because the organization is a huge thing for me. So,
well, with your also, you've worked with the title company on the legal side, mm-hmm. and not everything in downtown St. Augustine is perfect.
Oh, no. There's surprises every day.
There's surprises every day. I mean, I had a great story trying to remember who it was that I had on the show. I think it was Stephen Jones with Crossview Realty. He was talking about having there was a deed restricted to these houses out on the beach to have access to the beach. They weren't actually on the beach; they were on the other side of the road, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, no, if you buy here, you can access that."
Well,
Where he said, "No, I need that in writing." And a lot of people would have just bought that house, and then when someone actually said, no, you need to pay, and actually it was $50,000 some people were paying to get this access, right? And because it wasn't legally ever drawn up, in it, you and your background and your A personality, meticulousness, we'll use that word like that, of looking into that is very important, especially when buying on the beach and especially in downtown. The old city. It's not these cookie cutter subdivisions where that survey is good for 100 years unless one puts a fence up or something. All right, what do you guys do? Real quick, since Tabitha, I got the camera on you. What do you do? Are you a podcast listener? Do you read books? Do you like to go to events? Where do you get your industry knowledge, or even just inspirational knowledge, like you said, to have that positive day?
Sarah. I read a lot. I also am very faith-based Christian, so when I can get my schedule right, I really like to start my day either listening to sermons or reading a journal that I have, like a daily inspiration type thing, and to just kind of get my head right.
Tell me how you feel. Tell me how you feel when you obviously you go back to that, because I think it's sometimes, and to use the analogy, it's like a drug. Are you getting when you read that, you just feel inspired? Is that a lot of why you keep going back to that?
Yes. Yeah. I don't even know inspired, just fortified again. Mm-hmm. Just like, okay, I can go back out there in the world and keep doing this, and then. Aside from that, for real estate, reading a lot. I do look at social media a lot as well, just to see, it's really good to always know how, not just like what other real estate agents are doing, that's great, but to see what people are saying. What is the public saying when they're turning on Instagram? What kind of information, like look at CNN, look at all your news. What's the public being fed? So I look at that quite a lot.
All right.
And classes.
You like going to the local board? Is that what?
Online classes.
Online classes. You're not like. All right, Sarah, over to you. What are you? Again, podcasts? Are you reading scripture? What gets you going? And then obviously, stay out in front of your buyers and sellers.
So I've read a bunch of Colleen Hoover books lately. I like to start my day by. My husband will wake up, he'll put cushions outside for me on one of our chairs, and I like to sit there, drink coffee, feel the breeze when there is one, and I'll read a book and just kind of get in like a little zone for myself, and then...
So you put aside like a half an hour in the morning? Yeah.
It depends on when I wake up. Our son, we feed him at 9, so I usually wake up, around 7, and... just take some time just for me and, just get in the zone. I love anything John Gordon for inspiration. And, same as Tabitha. I check social media, look, just see what people are saying. I like to talk to other realtors in different markets, kind of see what's going on, and, yeah.
Are you guys, do you guys like going to the socials? That are put on, whether by a lender or title company, whatever. Do you guys like that kind of atmosphere to try to meet up with some of the other agents? Is that something you guys do?
It's really helpful. Just stay top of mind for the professionals that we work with as well, and then just get a taste of how everybody is kind of working in this field, in this area. So it is very helpful.
To kind of get an opportunity to meet the persons that are a lot of times on the other side of those contracts.
Yeah, that you don't always meet.
Right.
So I'm at the last Real Producers event, I met an agent. We had a horrible transaction together. Her sellers were absolute nightmares. I mean, she'll tell you that. They were very difficult, and I met her for the first time, and then I saw her again a few weeks ago at Maggiano's for the top 5% or top 5 elite.
Right.
So it was funny because I had never met her, and now I see her all the time.
Because this is again one of those common themes, showing up. You showed up at the Real Producers, to meet some of these people, especially last year when you were having multiple offers.
Right.
That when someone got that offer from you, oh, this is Sarah's office, this is Tabitha, I know who they are. I've met them. I've talked to them.
They're good people.
They're good people. Yeah. They drink a lot of wine, whatever. But how important, because I really think, social media has allowed us to create relationships electronically, right? There's some people we talk to all the time on social media and we've never actually met face to face. I have that every week coming on the show. Talk to them on social media, and the first time I ever actually meet and actually have a conversation is with them on the show here. So, but now when that person calls you, or you need to call that person because maybe they are the listing agent and you want to make an offer, or maybe, the market's tough and you need to start calling out to some agents, say, hey, I got this great property. You got anybody who might be interested in it? I need to move it. And those conversations are easier because you have actually, met and chatted, how brief it was.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. You've changed brokerages here recently to Berkshire Hathaway.
Yes.
Obviously, they've coaxed you over. Tell us, because it's not uncommon. There's very few agents, I think, who I can think of just two off the top of my head who actually been with their brokerages for over a decade. Well, actually, 3. They've actually been with the same brokerage. Some of them have broken off and made their own teams and done their own things within them. But anyway, what was the you personally obviously felt that you would run the road to the end of the road at where you were at, initially at Exit, then your second brokerage, and now you're at Berkshire Hathaway. What is it if you were sitting amongst the girls chatting, or guys, and chatting and exchanging the industry jargon, what is it you felt that Berkshire Hathaway is now going to help you and Tabitha move to the next level?
I think that for me personally, what I feel like I need is a good personal connection and then also business coaching. So I just, it's like sometimes you don't know what's missing, but you just feel like something's missing. Mm-hmm. So Tabitha and I went and sat with Berkshire Hathaway. They had an absolutely amazing presentation. I think that the broker that we met with is phenomenal, and I'm really looking forward to everything that he can help us with, and just the company as a whole. I mean, their marketing platforms are great, the just all of the technology, and then I think the personal coaching from a broker who has been in the industry for a really long time, I think is going to help us get to that next level where we want to be. Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm gonna ask Sarah this question, Tabitha, and then I'm gonna go over you. So pretend you don't hear her answer. You were in that presentation. Share it with something inspired you. Something said, "Yeah, I need to, get with Tabitha, and we probably need to make this move."
So I actually brought Tabitha.
Right. Now, I understand she was in the room. That's
yeah,
why
no, yeah.
I don't want to listen.
Some people don't always bring
people.
What
was Sarah's motivation? What was it about them that you're like, yeah, that's the piece I may be missing?
I think just everything on their platforms that they were showing us, and everything that Josh, the broker, he's like, I will help you with this. And he has been, like, I've been on his email list for a while where he sends out a Monday motivation every single Monday. So even before I worked there, I would get that. And that's what I like. That's what I need. I need, like, positivity. I need motivation. In their meetings, they talk about things that are going on in the market. So it's not like, oh, here we are. Here are the top people. Here are just some stats. Here are all of our preferred people that are going to tell you about what they do. But it's like, this is what's going on. What happens if this happens?
So they actually had structured sales meetings.
Yes.
Ah, brilliant.
I know.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm not saying anything bad. So, I was with a brokerage for 2 years. I absolutely adore the broker. There was something that was not there for me to help me get to that next level.
Okay.
And that is, where we're at now.
All right. Tabitha, you were there in the presentation. Was there something a little bit, don't ditto her, because that's, you're a different person. What was it about the presentation that you caught on and you're like, hey, maybe because you're not conversing at the moment, you're listening, or right? You're going,
I know
and then
her
afterwards
answer.
you guys meet. Yeah, what was it that caught you and motivated you to support her decision over here?
Initially, I loved the technology that they're offering. There's a certain platform that I like, and they were going to offer it. And so I was very excited about that. Mm-hmm. But honestly, the broker came in, the president came in, the founder came in, they had marketing people come in, and they sat and took time with us and explained things and answered questions. And they gave you a, I'm here for you vibe. Mm-hmm. And everything's gonna be all right. So it was just you could feel it, that it was gonna be good.
And they asked us what we felt like was missing. And they, what could they do to help us with our business? Mm-hmm. So I think that was really big for us.
All right, so I'm gonna I'm trying to put this statement together, and I have a feeling you will agree. But if you disagree, that makes the show that much more interesting. People get stale, and whether it's corporate America, whether it's a broker, they at some point they stop moving forward, and it's at that point when their people who are following them realize they're not actually staying in front anymore. You may be passing them. Not necessarily in time and experience, because they've always got that on you, typically, but their value in the business. What's going on? What's the latest thing? I mean, obviously, we've had a lot of things in the last 24 months, the market going from 100 miles an hour to almost, we put on the brakes hard right at the moment. And how are you dealing with it? Are they staying on top of the and staying out in front and continuing to add value? I've noticed it in our presentations, and I'm going to probably cut this clip out and put it out there because I really feel this. I've noticed a lot of our the vendors and so forth that are trying to add value to the agents, teaching you whatever, have gone to these panels. Stop going to the panels, guys. They're not prepared. They're not prepared to add any value to you. They are just there for you guys to come in. They're not adding any value. The reason why they've gone to the panel is they don't have to prepare. There's no knowledge prepared to give you that's going to move you. Now, you may get lucky, and if you're an inexperienced agent or something, they may tell you something new. But in reality, it's just a quick way to put people together in a room and say, hey, I put an event together. But not one of those panel members are truly prepared. And I don't know, you've probably been on some panels recently, haven't you?
No, I've never been
You
on
have not
one.
been on one?
Nobody wants to know what I have
Melissa
to say.
Ricks is on like 3 panels
I know.
a week.
I went to lunch with her a few weeks ago, and I was like, I'm going to see you like 4 times in 7 days. This is a record.
Yeah, I'm. If you guys may disagree with me on the panel thing, but when sitting down with a very important marketing person here and preparing the event that I did last month, she said, "Don't do a panel. It's being overdone because people are they're that way they don't have to prepare. They don't have to prepare PowerPoint. They don't have to prepare even thoughts. They just go up and sit up in front of a room and just blah, blah, blah. And to me, it's for you guys to take your time out of the day. That's my soapbox for the morning. All right. I know you guys are shocked and laying back on that.
No, I think if it's a panel where there is a specific topic,
yes,
then that's completely different.
Yes.
So I like to go to panels where there is a topic that I'm interested in because I want to learn and I want to grow, and I think that it's so important for everyone to learn from each other.
So what's going on in the local market?
I don't really think that's
not specific
I
enough.
would want something a little bit more
Specific.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, so you do agree with me.
You're like basically what you just
No,
said was.
I mean, if everyone up there is talking about that particular subject, then I know I'm going in, and that's why I'm going there.
Right.
But when you just put a panel together, it just says, "Hey, we're going to talk about the local market conditions and
Right.
and stuff," and you know, there's one coming up. We're going to talk about loan officers are going to talk about how to get around the interest rates. Trust me, our companies are feeding us stuff constantly, trying to tell us all things, and everyone has an opinion, and they have other things too. All right. Hey folks, this episode was produced by Streamline Media, the #1 media company for helping brands generate content that converts. I knew I wanted to start a podcast to reach more people and bring value to the world, but I did not have the time or the knowledge. Streamline Media became my secret weapon to building my show. They handle all my back-end work, production, and strategies to keep my show going strong. If you're in the real estate business and looking to make content that generates more leads and brings in more revenue, check out the Streamline Media link in the show notes and discover how partnering up can supercharge your path to real estate excellence. One of the top common themes that I've get off every podcast is education. How important is education in your success, especially with your A personality? I'm feeling when you are in front of a customer, you want to be at your best. How important is education, whether it's taking the online courses or showing up at the boards, or even going to a great vendor putting on a great specific subject matter?
I'm going to liken it to my previous life in law. Nobody wants to hire a lawyer that is not continuously learning, because the statutes are changing, federal laws, everything. It's a like real estate. It is a moving beast constantly.
Yep.
You don't want to hire the guy that doesn't really know what he's doing, who hasn't been up on his continuing education credits, or just kind of went to the school that, So I feel like if I'm going to deliver my best performance, I need to know what I'm talking about. Not only does knowing what I'm talking about help my client, it gives me more confidence to navigate with the other side of the transaction, with them, and just to get everything to the closing table. Education is paramount. So
you've got to go above and beyond. You're required so many hours. What's it? Is a year, every 2 years, whatever. You guys, we're required, not required as much as you are, and we can take ours online very quickly. As far as loan officers, a lot of it's just the same material, but you got to go above and beyond just that CE credits.
Yes, you do.
You've got to put in the extra time. Going in, obviously interacting with other agents to hear the other stories, because every transaction is different, and how to handle it, and so forth. So interacting with them, or going to the events that we talked about, that vendors put on, and so forth, to bring you guys in and go above and beyond to stay sharp all the time. That's why you're getting hired.
Well, we talked about this earlier too. People are going to be drawn to you, not just because of the color of your hair, but because of your personality. Like, they're drawn to you for a reason, and you're gonna, as
your personality's in your hair, though.
Okay, but as a person out there interacting with others, and I'm offering a professional, thing, out there, like a service, a professional service. There are going to be different people attracted to me and what I'm doing than, for Sarah. So we've already seen I've been, probably mostly because of my personality and my location in St. Augustine, I do get a lot of investors. So just because I have a license doesn't mean I know everything there is to know about short-term rentals. There's a lot of research that needs to go on, not only with education in classes, which there are, and you can take, and I have, but there's programs, there's city people you can call, there's county people you can call, and you need all of them to know your name, and you need to just learn. So whether you're taking, you're paying for classes, or you're out there asking questions for the people that are out there working it, you need to do all of it. And you'll notice as an agent what your crowd begins to be.
I think just, hearing you on here, and you bring up a very good point. I don't think we've ever, maybe with the newcomer group, obviously out on the St. Augustine Beach, because they have restrictions on how many permits they're allowing people to do the short-term Airbnb type rentals.
Yep.
And downtown, like you gestured earlier, that they're in constant discussion every town meeting. So if you want to buy in downtown St. Augustine, you need to find an agent who's downtown, or someone who's going in, knows those city people. You grew up there. You probably know the families of a lot of the people who are working in the county building. Who to call? Plus, obviously, your background in doing the title work, that was stuff that you did.
Or even just working at the courthouse.
Working at the courthouse, you know how it functions.
Yeah.
So staying on top of it, but you have not just rested on your laurels in the standpoint of just saying, well, I know those people and blah, blah. You've actually stayed engaged, so you are abreast. So when that investor does call you, if you don't know the answer, you know right away who does know the answer.
Yes.
Yeah. And from that standpoint. Sarah, jumping over to you, I'm going to jump cameras here. Education.
Yes.
Tell me about how that, how as a successful agent, where you're at now, you've been very busy. It's probably slowed down a little bit, although you guys had a great October. But how important is it for agents to schedule into their structure each week or month, however it is, time for education?
I mean, I think it's so important. I mean, the market is constantly changing. And if you continue to do continuing education and even courses that you don't need, obviously we need to have a certain amount of credits, but why not go above? I think so many of the topics are so interesting. It is only going to help you.
Would you agree a lot of the topics, actually, what you get out of it oftentimes depends on the instructor?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Because some of them are better at other things and they're doing that course, but they're not totally, the best at all things of that course. And, we've brought up several times on the show, the contract, right? Taking the contract course from different people, you're going to get different things.
Right.
What's important, little tips and tricks.
Yes.
And from their background experience. All right, since we're still on you, Sarah, consistency. What would you say that you've been doing consistently that has moved the needle for your business?
Staying top of mind. And I like to give back to my people. So, last year, my husband, who is one of my biggest supporters, and he just does so much for me and for my business, he went around, I ordered miniature champagne bottles and hot chocolate bombs. And then he drove around to every single person that's ever bought a house from me, and he left them outside of everyone's homes with a card for me. And then, before that, we did chocolate-covered strawberries for Valentine's Day. And, I really
Did you just leave those on the steps?
We texted them as soon as we were finished. Like, a cute little Valentine's Day poem, and it was like, check outside your door. Now. But, no, so I try to do stuff to let people know I appreciate the business. I appreciate all of the referrals. I appreciate people trusting me. Yeah. I mean, there's no way that you can explain in words how much someone referring someone to you, how much someone making one of the biggest purchases of their life with you truly means. So this Saturday, we're having a customer appreciation event for our people.
Awesome.
Yes.
What would you say you do a lot of top of mind stuff like on Facebook. Are you, just give us like a snapshot of like one of the things that you do.
So for me personally, I don't think that it's necessary to post real estate stuff constantly. Like, you know who I am. I'm a realtor. I don't need to throw it in your face all the time. Mm-hmm. So I joke with Zach, my husband, we'll post a picture of our son or of me and him. And, I try to stay consistent with my posting. And I joke with him and I'm like, I'm just giving the people what they want. They want to see Miles. Or like, my mom rang her cancer bell last week and so many people liked they bonded with the video.
That's a very, yeah.
So I think just, you connect with people on a different level when they get to know the real you, and it's not salesy. It's not
relationships.
Yeah, it's just, this is me. So take it or leave it, but take it.
That's one of the other common themes. I don't have it written down here, but being you.
Yeah.
Being you. I had this. I don't know who I was watching. Something. I don't know if it was a reel or someone. If it was. I don't think it was Ryan Serhant. Somebody. It'll come to my mind. But Tabitha, consistency. What are you doing consistently to move that you felt is moving your business forward?
Showing up every day, even when I don't want to. When I'm scared, when I'm intimidated, when I'm having a bad day, I have to show up. And that's being a mom too. You just have to show up. There's no other choice.
Well, and doesn't that go back to like the top of mind thing? Is you are reminding yourself who you are. Like, hey, I got to produce in society. I got to support my family. You're showing up every day that you are a real estate agent, and everyone knows you're a real estate agent. You don't have to post and like put it out there. Here's my number. Call me. But you are posting regularly that people are going, yeah, there's Sarah, the real estate agent. There's Sarah with her kid. There's Sarah, doing this, doing that. And they know you're a real estate agent.
Yeah.
That's already there. Occasionally you probably pop in, something.
Oh, definitely.
But you are, I think what do they say? That's like 5 to 1. You should do 5 personal things to 1, business type thing.
I could see that.
Yeah. We are creating relationships with social media, whether you agree with it or not. No doubt about it. How important, okay, so Sarah, you started early at Exit. You didn't feel you had an immediate mentor, although Emily was...
Yeah, Emily was definitely my mentor.
Mentor. How important, because there's a lot of great agents that are, since Exit's gone, that are still with the new Exit 2.
Yeah.
And then others who have come and gone through Exit. I mean, a lot of top agents have gone through there or are still there with that group overall. How important was it to hang or, even when they were putting on a training or whatever, to be part of that?
I never went to them.
Never.
I think that I probably...
cut that out of the show.
I think I probably should have. And honestly, my reason for leaving Exit was I just felt like I was a number. So it was such a big brokerage. And
well, really the question is, not for you too deep in that, is surrounding yourself by...
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay,
top
so
people.
Surrounding yourself...
Who are you surrounding yourself with?
With top people.
Yeah.
Oops. So... We can cut that. I think it's really important to surround yourself with people that you want to be like. You don't want to hang out with a lot of, agents that are constantly negative or putting people down or, being mean about other agents. Like, you want to be with people who are going to lift you up. You want to be with other top agents who are, working. They don't expect everything to come to them, and they're really just hitting the pavement.
Sharing ideas, pouring into...
Yes. I think that's so important.
As Tabitha mentioned earlier, an abundance attitude that you have. Now, Tabitha, I just meeting you here, and we've been talking for an hour. You have a different personality than Sarah. Yes. So you are more strategic. I think, if you agree, my perception is that you're a little more strategic of who you hang out with. Because of your coming up in the law field and so forth, who you feel, what you say is very important. You're, in this I may be totally wrong, but you're probably not the type that gets drunk and just starts blah, 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 blah with, the loose lips, sink ships type person. You're very strategic. Am I right? Am I off?
I don't think either of us do that.
No? Okay. Well, not saying, but I think she's where you seem to be, and again, this is just my perception of talking to you. Sarah is more, the glasses half full type person, abundance, come in, you're like me, let's go do it. You're a little more reserved.
Yes.
When it comes to a little more reserved. When it comes to, and you strategize who you're gonna hang with. How important is that? Because obviously you've been lucky to obviously meet up with Sarah and be with her and her success that she's had moving forward, and your success is following right with her. But as far as being around other successful people, whether it's in the real estate business or in the law area, how important is it to be around those top people?
It's everything. It's whether you're going to make it or not. Because it's another mom thing.
Okay.
I'm going to tell my son, the people that you're going to surround yourself with, that's who you're going to be. Those are going to be your thoughts. That's what you're putting into your head. So what you're putting into your head, putting around yourself, that's the person you're choosing to be. So if you don't like that, or you need to make changes, you want to do better, you want to excel, you need to choose differently. So I'm choosing Sarah because I don't actually go by those like very positive vibes. I choose her on purpose.
All right. Last couple questions. We'll go through them real quick here. And Tabitha, since we got the camera on you, what do you love most about real estate?
2 things.
Okay.
When you get to the closing table and you see that smile on their faces and they're happy, that's everything. Whether they're buying an investment, they're buying their first home, second home, whatever, they're truly happy with what has, even if there's drama, but they're smiling at that closing table. Like, it's just like it's a satisfaction. And I feel like I've accomplished something. And then the other thing, honestly, it is allowing a lifestyle with my child that I have wanted for a long time. So thank God.
Right. I think it's a lot of, whether even on the loan officer side, but on the real estate side, some of these transactions are not easy. Something blows up somewhere along the line, whether it has to do with the loan or has to do with the house or the seller, whatever. And obviously we get paid to make those things come together and close. And so, and I think, would you agree, a lot of clients, when they get to that closing table and actually sign off, a lot of that stuff just goes. They're just now on another level. And you can stay in contact. A lot of us are bashful. Oh, man, that's a bad transaction. I don't want to call them. But in reality, when they sit back and realize what you did, the team you put around, get a tight loan closed, or the house had some issues and you need to get the appraisal passed, or, inspection, satisfactory, whatever it is. So a lot of us are afraid sometimes to reach out to us, thinking that they are bitter with us, when really most of the time they're happy.
Yeah, most of them it doesn't matter what happens, even if a transaction gets canceled, like because you gave them some information that just made that not make sense for them anymore.
Maybe saved them a money pit.
They trust you now. They just trust you because you went through something with them, and they feel as though even if it's not great news, you're going to tell them the truth. So,
which a good friend would do.
Exactly.
All right, Sarah,
Yes.
What is it you love about real estate the most?
So I'm just going to tell a quick story.
Okay.
I worked with some buyers, and, they got pre-approved a few years ago. Their credit wasn't where it needed to be. And we've been in constant communication for about 2.5 years. They closed last week, and I've never seen smiles so big. So I think when you just have so much gratitude and satisfaction to see people moving into a not just a house, but their home. So I think that's one of the best parts for me.
Would you agree? I mean, a lot of people, buying a home, no big deal. We have a lot of people that are still renting in their 40s, 50s, 60 years old before they buy their first home.
Right.
And sometimes we can kind of not realize what we're actually doing for them, and even they give us great accolades. I just closed one a few weeks ago, 23 acres in Palatka. It was a manufactured home, but he's on top of the world. Like, how many clients we get, they want, like, oh, can we get a couple acres? He found 23 in an area he's willing to move to and, commute or whatever he's doing for work. And he's like, hey, man, we get things together. We're going to have a cookout. We're going to have you over. Honestly, I was introduced to him by one agent originally. It took, again, fixed his credit, got his things up so he could get the optimal financing. And they finally found this other home with another agent. And I've never met him face to face. So if he invites me out to this cookout, I'm going to go out for the first time and actually shake his hand. But how many times afterwards they're like, and they took a picture, of course. Isn't that the most, when they take a picture in front of their new house, right, and send it to you? Yeah, that's the most touching thing. All right. Last formal question. We'll go with Sarah first.
Okay.
Biggest, it doesn't have to be catastrophic, but what would you say one of your big mistakes is that you would recommend to another agent? Don't do that. Or it didn't work for me.
I would say interviewing multiple brokerages. So before you sign with someone, figure out what it is that you truly want. Make a list of questions of everything that, you feel like you need from a brokerage. And truly interview the broker. You know, one thing I learned recently, if your broker doesn't have time to meet you, or if your broker wouldn't know you on the side of the road, like, that's a big thing. So I think just, interview, talk about how many times do you meet with your broker? How many times does the brokerage get together to do meetings? Who do you call if you have a question? And just all of those questions, I think they're very important to truly jumpstart your career and to make sure that you're the most comfortable in your environment.
Would you agree if someone was new coming in to reach out to someone like yourself, someone who's and actually have a cup of coffee and strategy? Because I think one of the big things that you made a point there, what do you need? Tabitha needs something different than you.
Right.
Every agent needs something different.
And every brokerage is different.
And every brokerage is different. And to find out truly is what does it need that you do. Because if you come out of corporate America, or, we have a lot of obviously former teachers coming to be real estate agents, they never analyzed what they needed deeply enough. This is your business. You are 1099. It's all you. You got to get out of bed to make it happen, right? And what do you need to do? Do you need the broker to call you and wake you up and get out of bed? Maybe you need that. I don't, in theory, I don't know what a broker would do, but what it might be motivation. I know there's a brokerage every morning they go on. It's on Facebook, but he's doing it out to their entire group where they are actually doing he does a 2 or 3 minute little morning huddle is what they call it.
Yeah.
Maybe that turns you on. You need to find out what those little things are.
Exactly. And then I also think, every broker is different. Every brokerage is different. You need to find what works best for you. And if it doesn't work for you, don't feel bad about going somewhere else. I know it's people don't like to talk about it. People judge you if you go from one place to another, but you have to do what's best for you. Mm-hmm. Also, I do think it's a good idea to reach out to other agents at different brokerages. What do you like about working here? What do you not like? And, think of who you're aligning yourself with.
I was listening to her and I lost my actual statement I was going to make, but that's okay because listening to you is more important. Tabitha, looking back, what is something that you would have done differently? I won't say it doesn't have to be a mistake, but something I could have done that differently in just the 2 years you've been in the business.
So ditto what Sarah said.
That's not allowed.
But honestly, to put myself out there more, faster, stop overthinking, get out there and do it, and you're going to fail. And it's just going to happen, and not be afraid of it. I wish that I hadn't been so afraid of failing so much. It still is there sometimes.
Was it afraid of failing, or just you kind of being a little bashful? What's the...
Afraid of failure.
Or I guess someone saying no to you, right? Is that kind of what you're getting down to?
Afraid of no. I mean, people are going to say no all the time. They don't like this or that. Just afraid that I was going to screw something up. Just afraid I was going to make people unhappy. Just afraid. Nope, not everybody's going to like you, and but just.
Okay. How you mentioned it earlier? I think Tabitha mentioned it that obviously you guys are two different personalities. Have you actually flipped a customer? Started with Sarah and realized, hey, things just aren't clicking. Tabitha, why don't you step in and have this conversation with them and take over because maybe it's that engineer that wants to be a little more analytical.
I definitely give Tabitha anyone that says the word investment. I'm like, oh, let me actually have you talk to Tabitha. She is the investment queen.
Right. Because personalities are 100%, and like you said, people are going to say no to you, or and sometimes they're saying you call them and they say no, or hey, I'm not interested. It's not personal. No. I think we all have that call reluctancy, and that's having that mindset that they're really not saying you. But so you talked about what are you doing today that is different than what you said you were a little bashful or a little afraid you were going to fail. What are you doing today to break through that? Because I guarantee you there's another 1,000 agents that are just like that.
Just doing it. Post the thing, say the thing, call the person. Just do it.
Just do
and I'm
it.
saying it knowing I'm still working on this.
Yeah.
Like, I just need to do it. You just have
and
to.
you might be 10 years in the business and still doing that. I mean, we all are worried about what other people are thinking about us, and we just got to break through knowing the service that you can provide for you. Okay. All right. We're going to finish up. Here's my 2-minute morning questions. Again, we'll go back and forth here. Sarah, what is your favorite thing to do in Northeast Florida?
Oh gosh. I don't know.
You and your family. What do you guys like to do?
We like to go on walks, go to the beach. I love live music. Spend a lot of time with my family and friends. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tabitha, what's your favorite
Crazy.
thing to do in Northeast Florida?
Anything outside.
Anything outside?
All things outside. Me and my son.
Are you regularly? You're still running regularly?
I went this morning.
You went this morning. Okay. So I think there's something about running downtown or running there's something different. Running out on just a plain road out of middle nowhere, but it's something about running downtown in the streets. Does that it kind of motivates you a little bit?
I love it in the mornings because
so quiet.
no, you have people that are up there because I go down like the little old streets
Right.
and stuff downtown.
Right.
And there's some private schools down there, so you've got parents bringing their kids to school. You've got the restaurants getting their deliveries for the day.
Right.
So you have like this buzz of low level energy going on, and it just kind of like.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I walk down some of the old stuff and I look and I walk on the bayfront and I think of the people that have walked there for 500 years, and it's kind of cool.
That is kind of amazing. I mean, you don't really, with the old city, we go boating a lot, and we go out, go out the inlet, or just out off Porpoise Point. And I know that inlet's moved over time in the hundreds of years, but you think about, what was it like when those ships came
Right.
for the very first time, right? When the kids jump out of the boat, and I talked to them and said, imagine what it was like 200 years, 300 years ago, when they literally went up on the beach and or rode in on a rowboat and jumped onto the beach just like you just did, and that stuff was going on. And if I'm not mistaken, my wife saw someone posted after the storm we had a few days ago. Someone with their metal detector found some old coins.
Oh wow, I didn't see that.
On St. August, she was showing me that last night, which is really cool because you never know. Yeah, that must have been really cool to come upon that and be looking at that going, you'll be like, is that real? So, all right, here's the last question of all questions.
Okay.
The most important one. Okay, so we want a really good statement. Who wants to go first?
Tabitha.
Oh my gosh. Thanks a
we're
lot.
we're working on her stepping out, right?
Right.
We're working on, is it more important who you know or what you know and why?
What you know.
What you know.
Yes.
That doesn't surprise me for you. Actually, that doesn't surprise me at all. Why do you feel that way?
What you know is it. Oh my God! Now I'm going to stay.
I'm going to help you out. To me, my assumption is with your personality, when you feel you're knowledged up, you are confident.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's important. But I feel like it would lead to who you're going to know too. The more you learn, the more you're learning about yourself, the more you're learning what you want, and the more you're going to figure out your direction you need to go. And when you figure out those things, you're going to naturally come across the people you need in your life.
Oh.
Wow, that was very
That
profound.
might be it. We might have a reel right there. That was good. I like that answer. I like that. Sarah, more important who you know, what you know, why?
I definitely think it's who you know. I mean, I've lived in so many different places, and I wouldn't be the person that I am today without all of the people that I've come across in my life. So everyone that I have met, everyone I've worked with, everyone I am not, that's not in my life anymore. I think who you know is going to help you grow as a person and also help your business grow.
This is probably I wouldn't say I maybe had like 15 shows with 2 people on or more than one. I actually agree with both of you, and I'm a who you know person.
Right.
So, but you are right. The more you show up, the more you are, expanding your vision of what's going on, you start to find like-minded people, and then that you catch on that person who might be like a Sarah, who's a little bit in the career curve, not much further, but she's slightly ahead of you. But you find these people who are at different stages of their career,
Mm-hmm.
and although you're like-minded and you're headed in the right direction, they might be a few steps ahead of you, and obviously can teach you something or guide you in the right directions of things they've done wrong. But ladies, I appreciate this. Anything you want to tell anyone? We got a ton of content here from this podcast that's going to spill out. But if there's anything you guys want to add? There's a story or something you guys want to tell about the Schwartz Group and maybe just why someone should work with you guys.
Well, you clearly get two personalities.
We will cover the full gamut of everything that you need between the two of us.
I think that's why you guys. There's no doubt. It's why she's obviously the detail person, right?
Overthinker.
Overthinker for sure.
Overthinker.
Sarah is too.
She's gonna poke holes, and you're the visionary.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and integrator over here. There is actually Sarah Rocco gave me the book, and I'm trying to think of the name of it. I come up with, but it actually talks how great successful companies, how important it is when you have a visionary, you have to have a good integrator, and when you have the two of them together, it's a powerhouse. And corporations deal with this situation all the time because you're. Very rarely do you ever get like two perfect matches, the perfect integrator with the perfect visionary.
Well, I have to say, her husband, honestly, is involved significantly
Yeah, he
behind the
does a
scenes,
lot.
doing some stuff for us that most people would not notice at all. So I feel like there's a trifecta.
Okay. Is he doing transaction or just doing a lot of your marketing? Let's give him a shout out. You want to give him a shout out?
Hey, Zach.
Hi, Zach.
You didn't mention Zach all day long.
Yeah. So Zach does a lot for our website. He does a lot with his brother who built our custom website. So he does a lot of our SEO. He helps with keyword searches. He's constantly doing research on what the best keywords are for us. He does social media graphics. He did, I don't know if you saw any of my YouTube videos, but he did.
I did actually. I had it on there. How many views each channel? You need to do more.
I know. You sound like him.
Yeah, and what I would do
Cut that out.
is like what I mean, you guys will see it as my package here is growing, as a company I'm working with is trying to use me as a. That's why I'm wearing the
You're
shirt.
like,
is they're showing what they can do across all the channels.
Right.
But we talked here, and the average person's not going to listen to this long of a podcast. But when I go in here and the great statements that you guys made, and the exposure and some of the views that you're seeing in the YouTube Shorts that I've just started putting out over the last 2 weeks are amazing.
yeah.
That people and again, it's that top of mind thing. You might be saying something, and you're only hearing that 15, 20 seconds of you actually saying it.
Right.
But someone's clicking on it, and it's reminding them, Sarah's a real estate agent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with him. But he's obviously doing the right thing because you got a lot of views on the.
He did all of my
YouTube.
editing. I had a buyer call me Thursday. We met Saturday morning and then again yesterday, and he was like, "Can you throw punches when we see each other?" And I was like, "What?"
I gotta go see this one.
He was like, "In your video," because I did this.
Right.
So I did it. And, he's gonna buy a house. So
Cool.
win-win.
Ladies, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you. And great success for 23 here.
Yes.
We're almost to Thanksgiving already.
Here's hoping.
Yes.
Yes. All right.